Hey everyone, I'm Joshua Orro, the Mustang Prince, and welcome to Mustang Prince Orro Reports. Well, folks, it's time for another month with Sofia the First. And for this month, we're going to look at two different episodes, both of which will take place at Royal Prep. By the way, has anyone ever been kind of nervous or under a bit of pressure while going through a certain exam or test at school? Well, today's episode is where Princess Sofia had to take a very special princess test. So, airing on television on April 12th, 2013, this is the Princess Test. Now, let's get started. When Flora, Fauna, and Merryweather announce a big princess test, the princesses at Royal Prep are put to the test, but only one of them can win the trophy for showing the most important princess trait of all, kindness. During the test, Princess Sofia feels the pressure of proving herself among the princesses born into royalty, but along the way, Sofia sacrifices the vanity put upon her in order to help the librarian, Mrs. Higgins, get some books back to her cottage. So, what do I think of this episode? Well, it's good, but not really my favorite episode in this season per se. But now, let's move on to Mustang notes. Now, there's not a lot of trivia to talk about, except for the fact that the moral of this episode is always help someone in need. Plus, kindness is a very important value. Also, it's mentioned during the episode that there are about 138 kingdoms in the show's universe. Wowie zowie. Now, what are my thoughts on the animation? Well, in my opinion, it's still pretty good. I mean, it's Toei after all. In my opinion, these guys have improved ever since the show began, perfecting on human characters, animals, and many different places. Plus, I think Royal Prep is a great looking school, and I think the forest that Sofia and Mrs. Higgins journey through is very beautiful. However, my one problem with this episode is the pacing. Maybe it's just me, but sometimes whenever I watch it, it feels kinda slow at times. Now, let's talk about the episode's song, I Belong, sung by Princess Sofia. This song, in my opinion, is not really one of my favorites, but it does make a sympathetic lament song where Sofia explains that she's different from all the other royals due to her mom marrying King Roland, and Sofia hopes to fit in as a princess. And now let's move on to the characters and the voice actors who brought them to life. Princess Sofia is again voiced by Ariel Winter, who previously got to be young Kairi in the Kingdom Hearts games, Marina in Jake and the Neverland Pirates, Smurf Lily in Smurfs The Lost Village, young Trixie in Speed Racer, and Penny Peterson in Mr. Peabody and Sherman. To me, I think this episode gives Sofia a nice growth in character, and while she feels unsure of herself as a princess sometimes, like in the pilot, I like Sofia's confidence. Plus, her kindness and helpfulness is where her princess side truly shines. Next we have the three good fairies. Flora, voiced by Barbara Derrickson, Fauna, voiced by the late Russi Taylor, and Merryweather, voiced by Trez MacNeille. As usual, I think they're classic Disney fairies, and I think they're great headmistresses and teachers at Royal Prep. However, Fauna sticks out the most in this episode. Oh, spoiler alert, I think. Another character to talk about is Princess Hildegard, voiced by Coco Grayson. In my opinion, even though Hildegard does give Sofia a few decent tips in order to prepare for the test, there is a subplot where she feels a bit afraid of messing up. But thankfully, Amber and June were there to help her get through without any problems. Finally, we have the Royal Prep librarian, Mrs. Higgins, also voiced by Russi Taylor. To me, Mrs. Higgins is a sweet librarian, and I like the part where she gave Sophia and June two of her favorite books while they were studying for the princess test. Plus, I like that Sophia went out of her way to help Mrs. Higgins get her books back to her cottage when her wheelbarrow broke down. And now let's move on to my final words. Overall, the princess test is okay, but not one of my favorite episodes. It starts off pretty fine, but sadly it drags a bit, but it does have a surprising ending. Plus, I like how Sophia grows as a character, and I thought it was very sweet when she gets to help someone like Mrs. Higgins, whom was really Fauna in disguise. Plus, the animation is still good, and Sophia's song, while not really one of my favorites, was very relatable. Now, what am I going to rate this episode? Well, I'll give it a 63% out of 100. Yes, it's good, but it could have picked up its pace a bit. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to join me next time as we take a look at an episode that introduces us to Three Good Fairies apprentice, Miss Nettle. Mustang Power.